What's up, guys? We got Nick Gawletz today from BC, Canada, and he has real relatable story. So he talks a little bit about his backstory. We talk about him coming into a market where there's well-established inspectors that everyone knows. And he also talks about being in a market where they're used to low prices for inspection. So I know a lot of you can relate to that. So he talks about how he navigates that. We talk about marketing, how he's thinking about accessing buyers, not only buyers in his area, but people that are not currently moving. So he's looking at ways to work in his area for people that have been in their homes with maintenance inspections. So make sure to listen to that part because I think it's a very important discussion and topic. And I personally believe there's ways our industry can still crack that. I think it's a matter of positioning and marketing and telling the right story, and then truly adding the value for people that are going to be in their homes for the foreseeable future. So great, wide-ranging conversation. Hope you enjoy it, and thanks as always for listening. Yeah, well, let's just roll into, some of the topics we had down, man. So again, thank you for joining. Let's let people know who you are, kind of like why and what got you into this wonderful business of home inspecting.
All right. Yeah. So I've been plumbing for, oh God, over 15 years now. And I ended up with some work injuries that caused me to take a step back for a few years from the industry. And I ended up working at a wholesale company in the town I'm in, plumbing wholesale. And think I was there for 2.5 years, and kind of started looking at going, what am I doing here? Because it was kind of like, capped out. Like, this is going to be it for the next 15 to 30 years kind of thing. Like, this is going to be boring if this is as far as it's going to go. And I had a friend that was working there, and he had a home inspection done when they moved, and he wasn't too impressed by it. And with my background, I say he's like, you would be awesome at that. So I know it kind of got the wheels turning on that. And I'm like, you know what? Let's take a look at that, see if that would be something I'd be interested in. And yeah, I got looking into it, and at the time there was only a handful of inspectors, and it, diving into what they've been doing, and like they were reaching an age where these guys are going to be retiring soon, so this could be a great market to get into. And time wise, it was good because it took me about 3 years to do the whole process to get approved and legalized for home inspecting in Canada here. Um, so by the time I was done that, yeah, a couple of the guys are retired. So the market's it's good. Like, it's still slow because there's a few guys that the realtors still like using. So it's, you're trying to tap into a market that, everybody's got the guy that they want to be using, and trying to get into that, which is difficult for sure. But I feel like I'm making some headway.
Yeah. So you talk about the education process. So you're in BC, up in Canada, 3 years. Is
Yeah.
that standard for how long it takes, or did you part-time kind of work and kind of like ease
I
your
was,
way into?
I kind of, well, when I started, so the process is 9 months online schooling
Okay.
after hours. So it was 3 days a week. And it was basically like, you join in on a podcast or like a Zoom meeting. You
Mhm.
go through the material 3 days a week. And that was on Vancouver time. So they're an hour behind us. So I would start at 9 my time, and I'd probably finish up around midnight.
Oh,
And so yeah, doing that with a full time job, and two younger children at home, and a wife that works full time. it was tricky. So that was a 9 month course, and to continue on with that, you have to take an association's exams as well.
mhm.
But because of the workload and everything else and the late nights, I opted to just do that after I was done my schooling. So it was another year of cramming, doing their exams, passing their exams. And then once I was done doing the exams, they wanted 100 hours of field training, which unfortunately 80% of it I had to do 6 hours away in Kelowna.
Oh,
So a lot of driving. Um, I got as much done as I could in town, but I got like 2.5 years into it going, am I like, is this how long it's supposed to take? And, I go back online and look it up. Like, yeah, if you're rural, um, it can take up to about 3 years. If you don't have to, if you can't just, if you don't have a full-time job kind of thing, like if you could dedicate 100% of your time to that, sure, you could probably get it done in 2 years, but if not a little quicker. But
Wow, because of all the ride-alongs and kind of on the job training that you have to do.
yeah, and then like the hard part too is like if the trainers out of Kelowna, they aren't getting the kind of inspections that are allowing a group of say 6 to 8 guys to go in there, you could be waiting a month, and then of course classes fill up quick. So if you don't hop on it right away and get on that email as soon as it comes out, you're waiting.
Sure. I want to go back to studying, full-time job, kids, wife, because sometimes we get inspectors that are thinking about getting into the business, listen to this pod, and it really helps them, I think, understand the sacrifice it takes. And kind of like, if you could even just talk through kind of the ups and downs of that period, because boy, after a long day's work.
Well, yeah. I'd say the hardest part was just trying to stay focused on the books after working 10 hours a day. Cause I eventually went back to plumbing because it was easier. And I went back to plumbing with my old journeyman. He started up a company a few years ago. I put that on the table. I said, hey, this is my goal. I'm working up to this. And eventually I'm going to be doing part-time with you, part-time with this. But he was so flexible with me, I'd have to take a day off or an exam or something like that. But 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day in the trade. So you're out in the elements, and then you come home and you're trying to stay focused. It was tough. And then my wife she was amazing with this whole process, because that 2-3 years, she kind of did the brunt of doing everything around the house, which was fantastic because I had no time or energy to do anything. But I think the silver lining, not that COVID's a silver lining, but it took away a lot of the social aspect of me saying, sorry, I can't do something tonight kind of thing. Or, every weekend I'd be just staring at the computer trying to, cram for the next day. So yeah, it was tricky to try to juggle all that.
Is there any is there any
Go
advice
ahead.
you'd give? Because a lot of inspectors, yeah, I think that want to get into business, they have a full-time job or a part-time job. Is there anything you learned from that phase that you would pass along to anyone thinking about getting in the business?
Um, I think, to be honest with you, like for me, it was just getting in that mindset when you got home just to get it done. I actually started copying pasting all the text onto an audio format so I could listen to at work, which kind of helped a bit.
Ooh.
So, with most times I'm just kind of working by myself and just kind of hammering away at on the job site. So I just put that on my iPhone, and I would listen to a full, chapter after chapter every day, and kind of just like having it kind of sink in, and then come home and then go over the text. So that helped a lot.
Man, that's like going to school full time.
It
That's
was,
tough.
I know, and I listened to some of the podcasts, and depending on where you are and what state you're in, I was like, oh my god, that would be so much easier. So,
Now it's
I hear some of these guys like, oh, I did a 2-month course, and then I started going. I was like, oh god, I wish.
yeah. I guess on the other hand, less competition, maybe if it's that hard to get in the business going forward. So we'll see. Okay, so
Yeah.
you go through the schooling, and what is that first kind of like couple weeks like when you launched the business, started getting things up and running? What was that like?
Um. Yeah. To be honest, like getting it going after I've got all my approval was a little frustrating. Just dealing with all the government stuff. I don't know what it's like with you guys and stuff like that, but like it was, you're trying to get all your government paperwork in order, and no one could help you out. And it's super frustrating. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't help you with that. You're gonna have to fill it out again, send it in. And it took a long time to get all the government stuff done. And of course, how it is like, it's not my job, not my problem. So, and
Yeah.
it's not my normal day-to-day thing to go through all that kind of paperwork. So it was super frustrating. But once I got that done, I was door to door, just knocking on realtors, going into the realtors' offices and handing in cards, introducing myself, which I'm extremely comfortable with. I enjoy that a lot. Sitting down and talking to people about what I do and what I offer, comes from somewhat fairly natural to me. So that wasn't hard. I think the hardest part was just kind of waiting for that first phone call. And I think it was about a couple weeks in, I had 4 jobs in 1 week, and then nothing for about a month. I was like, what is this? so, so it is tricky. But I think that's the climate we're into right now. Is this around here is, houses are moving, but not like it was. Not like it was 3 years ago when it was just going nuts over COVID and everybody was jumping ship to go to a smaller town kind of thing.
So you're seeing a
So
little choppier of a market, little more inconsistency with the volume.
yeah, and I think people are getting a little nervous with all the interest hikes and stuff like that. So there's a lot of, there's, and fair enough for people in a certain tax bracket. There's these out like in BC especially, like it's overpriced. It's nuts. It's the what people are asking for a house is for what the house is actually probably, in my opinion, worth. Is it's just insane. So I don't blame people for not. Well, most people can't even afford to move.
Yeah. What's the median like home price in kind of that region or area, just for context?
I'd say like a 2,000 square foot 1980s are going from anywhere from
Okay.
$5,000.
That's probably double what it was 3, 4, 5
Yeah,
years ago, I imagine, huh?
yeah, 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 for sure. So
So
yeah, it's been challenging. Like I have weeks where I'm booked up, but then I got 2 weeks where nothing happens, kind of thing. So then I do spend a day or two here and there just knocking on doors and saying hi.
just introducing yourself to people. I think that's great. That's true boots on the ground. Was that some of what you thought you had to do being in a market, like you said, with well-established inspectors that have been around for, 5, 10, 20 years? How did you approach being in a market where there was the old timers that they were the guy for the agents?
The way I went about it was uh, ask, because I know these realtors have weekly or monthly meetings, and just ask to join in on a meeting and do a little presentation for them. And I've done a few now, and every time I've asked to do that, the agents are pretty much floored that somebody wants to come in, sit down, and talk to them.
Really?
Where there's been a few offices where like nobody's ever done this. So I think that's fantastic. And usually I get a 30-minute timeline, and I'm going about 45 minutes, close to an hour. So they're usually kicking me out with it.
Yeah. What are you presenting on? Like, what's the nature of the material?
Mostly just talking about myself, my background, um, being having a trades background. Definitely like to sell on my customer relationships that I like to build. That being said, like, so a lot of people are moving out of town. I'm getting a lot of inspections where the client actually can't be there because they're away, and coming back to do a walkthrough with them because you're trusting somebody. You're 6 hours away, and you're trusting somebody to give you a pretty good walkthrough of a house, but you're not able to be there. And for me, it's hard to not be able to do that for somebody because you got all these pictures, and I say for the most people, they see a picture, but they can't put a location out in the house or something. Like, say your main water shut off. Well, it's right there. Like, it's hard to gauge that from a picture, and I wouldn't feel comfortable not being able to do a proper walkthrough with someone, even if it is a month later and they've already been moved in.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So you did door to door, you did agent presentations, that kind of got you up and running with some momentum. What were those like first 10 to 20 inspections like in terms of your mentality, what the goal was, how those agents responded? Because I think that first 10 makes or breaks a lot of inspectors, right? Because then this shows,
Yeah,
hey, are you going to get repeat business, or are you going to have to
yeah.
always be out there selling?
I could probably go off my very first inspection, and I didn't even tell the realtor it was my very first one. Like, she knew I was new, and I got it done, and we finished up with a client, and it was 100-year-old home, and it had everything under the sun that you could imagine. So
100-year-old
Um,
home for your first inspection.
yeah.
Unreal. Unreal.
And I'm trying to present the the major items without being an alarmist. And I felt like I did a pretty good job, and the client ended up buying the home. But I was talking to the realtor later that evening, because I called her. I said, "Hey, how did you think?" And because she was there when I was doing my presentation and everything. And I told her that was my first house. She's like, "Oh, well, congratulations," because I thought you'd been doing it for 10 years.
Wow.
Just by how you presented it to my client, and how well you walked them off a ledge kind of thing, because they were like panicking over a bunch of things they'd already found. And I said, there's nothing that can't be fixed. It just all depends on what you want to live with and how much you want to, pay, kind of thing. So, she was floored that was my very first one, just how I handled myself with a client.
That's great. That's amazing. That's like the highest compliment you could get. Was that like learned behavior, part of it natural in terms of like common sense of how to walk someone through a report? Like how intentional were you
Uh,
with your approach?
I think it's a little bit of learned, and something that it's a family thing, because my dad's kind of the same way with, dealing with people and talking to people and kind of being that salesman kind of thing. But a lot of it, where I think I've learned most of it, was service plumbing. So, with service plumbing, when somebody calls you, they're not calling you on their best day. It's their worst day, because they're calling you and there's an issue that needs to be fixed.
Sure.
So, navigating a lot of negative emotions over the years when you show up to somebody's house has definitely helped a lot. Where I find with the home inspecting, it is way easier, because these people aren't calling you because they have a problem. They're calling you because they want to know what's going on. I find it's a lot easier to navigate that than it is when you're dealing with somebody with a huge issue and a leak in their house somewhere.
That's a great way of putting it. You've been through worse. Just like someone on our customer service team had worked and escalated customer service for Southwest Airlines when people would miss their flights or like not get refunds. And she's like, "Oh yeah, home inspectors are easy compared to that." And so it's all
Yeah,
what you're used to, right? It's like all
yeah,
expectations.
yeah. And then on top of the service work too, is like you're trying to give them a fix, but they then they're tight on cash or this or that. So you're trying to navigate that too, where this is a pretty simple transaction that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's jump into pricing for a minute because this is going to be very relatable to a lot of listeners out there because I hear basically on half of these podcast inspectors are like, "Hey, my market expects inspections to be super cheap. There's like a very low kind of floor when it comes to what consumers expect for a home inspection." So talk to me a little about how you approached that getting into the business, thinking of pricing, and kind of how where it's been in your market.
Well, yeah, that's been a bit of a difficult situation for me to kind of mentally get over, is that the people expect nothing for something. And where the market has been with the home inspections in the last, say, even 10 years hasn't really changed price wise. So I think $450 to $500 is kind of where it's been for the last 5 to 10 years, which is, in my opinion, nuts.
Right.
My price, I just because I am starting out, I'm doing $550 for an inspection. So I'm definitely probably one of the more expensive guys in my area. But where I approach that is value added to my inspection. So what am I going to do better that these other guys aren't? Which is customer service. I don't think anybody else is using Spectora, which, in my opinion, that just blows my mind too.
Nice.
So
That's a good
I
advantage.
went, I went through a few different programs, and as soon as I seen this one, I don't think there was a hesitation to not use Spectora. So um, that helps a lot. Um, just how smooth the program runs when you're, you know, dealing with billing and invoicing and like customer feedback is great. Um, so yeah, I really approach my value added to where the other guys aren't. So bedside manner, being able to give you contractor referrals, which is fantastic with that Spectora, where that hasn't been out that long, has it?
No, still technically in beta, but there are inspectors using recommended contractors in a very clever way. And I think they're doing
Yeah,
research and then exposing their home buyers to trusted contractors while disclaiming themselves.
yeah,
And it's, some are charging for it. Some are charging a nice amount for it because it is a value add at the end of the day. Is that how
yeah.
you view it?
I haven't charged them for that. I have had a couple conversations because it is like I, being in the trades in this area, I know big majority of who I've got on my list, and I have had a couple conversations. Hey, if I get work, kind of thing, I'll give you a. And I'm like, if you want to, that'd be nice. That'd be
Yeah.
fantastic if you gave me a bonus here and there. But to me, it's servicing my customer is what more I am interested in, and not so much getting money back from a client that has used one of my recommendations. It's not really what I'm going for. It's just more of a value added and something that I can help out my customer. Because, like I said, a lot of people are moving from out of town. They don't know who to trust. And that's who I'm putting on my list is people that can show up to a house and be professional and do a good job.
I think that's 100% another element that can be in the stew of a five, six, $700 inspection is like a value add like that. Cause I love the value stacking and inspectors being able to say, hey, for $500 or $600, look at everything you're getting that I offer. And
Yeah,
it justifies a higher price tag. So I like how you're
yeah.
thinking about that.
Well, I've added on water treatment too to mine because I'm a certified water specialist as well. So especially in where we're going more hydronic heating in this area, if you got a boiler in your house and it's not treated water or on a dedicated water system, that's a potentially a $10,000 system that you're just letting raw water go through. So I add that. Even just protecting basic plumbing fixtures in your house is fantastic value added. And I don't charge for the water analysis, but if the client wanted me to come back after and put in a treatment system, I'm more than willing to do that for them.
Oh, that's a good. So this is really clever of you because your background in plumbing, obviously, I'm guessing that's how you knew the water treatment would be a big part of your home inspection business, right?
Yeah,
What
yeah. And I
and
go ahead.
I'm what I'm getting at there is like you knew like you have your background obviously, but then you just rattled off something about your market and what's specific to your market and what those needs are. And I think every new inspector should be thinking in that way, whether it's mold or radon or water treatment, air quality, these couple add-ons that what percent would you say use your water treatment services?
Right now, probably only about 5%.
Okay.
Uh, it's still one of those things that people are like aren't quite on board with unless they absolutely want it, kind of thing. So that's why I don't charge for the treatment analysis or anything like that. But if that's something that comes knocking on the door down the road that turns into something, that'd be fantastic.
You generally Are you generally taking the approach of keep adding add-ons as a part of your core package and then the price can go up and people can use them within that, or are you going to have them like separate add-ons where your base price maybe stays where it is and then they can add on these things in the future for a higher cost?
Yeah. I think I'd stay at my base price, and then if the client is interested in any add-ons, then yeah, for sure. Like a wet inspection is for sure an add-on for me. Um,
What is that?
so
Just
if
for those that aren't familiar with what
the a wet inspection is for wood burning appliances, so fireplaces, stoves, anything that's using wood, um, requires a wet inspection for insurance purposes prior to sale of the home. Um, so there's quite a few fireplaces and wood burning equipment in my area. Um, so I charge $350 for that. So that's another add-on to the inspection if required.
Beautiful. Are you looking at other types of services? Like I'm not familiar with your area. Are there other types of add-ons that you're seeing in your future here to offer?
At the moment, no. Um, it's with the association rules that it's kind of a tricky thing to navigate because a lot of conflict of interest rules. So, I have to be cognizant of that to make sure that I'm not going to be um, putting myself in a situation where the association's not happy with me by adding on too many different things that it becomes a conflict of interest.
What do you mean? Like what, how could radon or mold or, air quality be a conflict of interest?
So the way it's kind of they approach that is that, I could say, oh, you have a mold or an air quality problem. You're going to have to get me to come back and do additional work plus fee kind of thing. So say I still had a plumbing company and I'm like, well, this, and this are wrong. We're going to need to fix that kind of thing.
Mhm.
If you go through the sale of the home, I can fix that for you at a prorated rate kind of thing. So they're just worried about home inspectors kind of taking advantage of that.
This is what kills me about so many associations and states across the country is that like what do car mechanics do? Like what do doctors do? They tell you what's wrong and then they fix it for you. Like it
Yeah.
it just like kills me how home inspectors are held to like different standards when it
Yeah.
comes to this. Maybe there's differences I'm not thinking of, but I'm always like, where else does that happen? Lots of other places. But I
Well, and it comes up in conversation with clients all the time because either a realtor will tell them that I'm a journeyman plumber. So I'm like, oh, so you can come back and fix stuff. I'm
right.
like,
And to a consumer, you and I have probably both been in these shoes, right? Where like there's times where you genuinely don't care if there's a conflict of interest. You're like, you seem competent, you know what's
yeah,
wrong, you're going to be my easy button to fix it. That's
yeah.
all I believe
And
most
I've
people.
already got your number kind of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. But then there's whether you call it organizations or associations that are so worried about the perception of this that it like literally stops adding value for the customer. That's where it gets me is when it like makes a customer do more work
yeah,
when you're just
yeah. And
underwriting it.
that's where I really like the cost contract referrals. As I'm trying my best to help them out without having them to do more work because buying a house is stressful. The last thing you want to do is have to go hunt for somebody that you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, especially being new to an area, which sounds like you get quite a bit of. Um, let's talk about that, like in trying to market to people that are just not moving from house to house in your town, right? So, like you said, you get some out of towners. How do you reach those people, or how do you market? Whether it's people that are moving from out of town or people that are just living in town and not moving, because you mentioned that too. So, let's talk about marketing outside of realtors.
I think the biggest thing that I'm doing is Facebook. And to be honest, I don't know, what am I? I'm a millennial and I don't act like a millennial. So I think using the social media for me is extremely hard because it's not something I am used to doing at all. I'm the guy that I'll sooner phone you than text you, and it throws a lot of people off, especially the younger clients. Um, so I do that. Um, I
Like
have
running ads or just like a Facebook
I'm
page, or what do you do?
just a Facebook page. So I try updating it the best I can when I remember to do it, and reaching out that way. But as far as out of town, I think that 90% of what I've got out of business is from realtors.
Yeah,
Yeah,
from realtors, because you mentioned wanting to get people or wanting to float the idea to maybe past clients you've done a home inspection for, people that have been in their home for say 5, 10, 20 years. Like tell me about your bullishness on kind of, hey, you haven't had an inspection done in 10 years. How about bringing me in?
so that's where who's been actually helping me on that one the most is the local radio station in town. And I'm the first home inspector they've ever had on the radio station. So they said that's fantastic. And I've actually had quite a few phone calls already just from that. And marketing it that way. So basically, like if you've had a car for 15 years, you probably have it looked at least a couple times, I'm sure. So why not the biggest investment in your life, or most people's biggest investment in their life? You probably want to know what's going on inside your house. Have you ever been in your attic, looked around? There's probably issues that you're not aware of. So the way I'm kind of approaching that is, having a home inspection can show you some things before they become big issues, before they become a big price tag. And I haven't gone around to looking at it yet, but I'm going to be asking some of the insurance companies, like, hey, is there, you know, a kickback or something for my client if they have a home inspection done on their house that isn't planning on moving, like, you know, to can approach some potential issues before they become an issue or an insurance problem.
That's a great call. I don't think our industry has collectively made a big run at this over the years, over the last 7, 8 years I've been around. And you're right. It's like we get our cars annually checked, and those are what, 1/10, 1/20th of the cost of our homes. And so I just don't believe the positioning has been good by our industry in terms of marketing this. You know, it's like you do your
No,
home inspection and then it's like, see you later, never, see you never,
yeah,
basically.
yeah. Well, and I've had that on. I've added that onto my my reports is a 6 to 12 month reinspection at a prorated cost, just because you are buying a house from somebody that has a certain lifestyle, right? So with that, this person lives in the home their way. You know, they might hang their clothes to dry versus, or, you know, doesn't turn the bathroom fan on. But you get a new person that lives in that house, has a completely different lifestyle that the house is used to, you know, and changes the atmosphere in that home. It could cause problems. You know, you've added on a dishwasher to a sink that, you know, in a 1950s house, you know, what issues is that could potentially be doing, you know, a reno here and there. And then on top of that, seasonal, you know, I'm there for 4 hours out of the whole year on, say, a hot summer day. Well, what's that look like in the wintertime? I have no idea. So that's why I've kind of been pushing the 6 to 12 month reinspection just to see how the house is doing after you've moved in, because you have no idea what your lifestyle is going to do to change the effect of that envelope.
It's a good way to put it. Do you think the best time to present that to a buyer is right after you deliver the inspection, or is it like 6 months later when they've experienced the house? Like I'm just brainstorming here of like when's the right time to get them to book that or believe that they need that?
Like, so I have it in the, like, the very top of my report, and then I do talk to them about that at the end of the inspection. So at the end of my presentation with them in the report, you know, I say, hey, you know, this is why I believe a 12 month, 6 to 12 month reinspection is a good idea. I tell them it's not going to be a full price inspection because I won't be there for that long, I hope. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I'm already familiar with the home. And then I have it set up in my inspectora for a follow up email that goes out, you know, in 6 months. Hey, is this something that you would be interested in still?
That's great. That's outstanding. I think, yeah, I want to see this catch on. I want to see more inspectors uh, really leverage this and to me add value down the road for people because yeah, it is kind of this weird, you're left to your own devices. Sometimes people reach out to their realtors 6 or 12
Yeah,
months later, like, hey, do you know an HVAC guy? And I
yeah.
think home inspectors are positioned really well for this.
Well, on the other side of that too is like, say you are planning on doing a reno and stuff like that, and you have questions, you're not quite, and then I always let my client know I have been in this industry for 15 years. I'm just a plumber, which, but I do have pretty good insight on how renovations go, how a construction site runs and stuff like that. So if you have any questions on how to get that ball rolling, feel free to give me a call and I can walk you through a couple steps just to get you going on a reno, or say, something's wrong with the bathroom, or, what do you think about a furnace kind of thing. And it does not bother me at all for anybody to call me if they have a question. Just to, you know, that's what I'm there for.
Yeah, some of the best, fastest growing companies I've seen over the years take the I'm your consultant approach as opposed to I'm just a home inspector. It's kind of
Yeah.
limiting in a sense to think of it that way.
Well, and like I said, the way I kind of look at it is like it's a very frustrating time, and the last thing you want is a guy to say, "Well, I gave you the report, but it's all up to you." And to me, it would feel like how I was dealt with all the government paperwork trying to get my company going. Well, sorry, you're gonna have to figure it out.
Yeah.
You know what I
That
mean?
one.
And it was super frustrating. And at the end of the day, I would want somebody to help me out with something like that. If I had a question, I'd want them to feel comfortable to come to me and say, "Hey, what do I do?
Yeah, it's just good business, and I think that's how word of mouth spreads. Is if there's just like, oh yeah, Nick, super helpful, like very selfless, dropped everything. That I think is how people have sustainable businesses. Speaking of sustainable businesses, let's talk a little bit about the agent relationships because I'm always curious how you view not only creating these relationships but then fostering them over time. So talk a little about some of the wins you've had, just getting to know realtors in your area. It's like the hardest thing for new inspectors. So I love hearing your
Yes. I think basically I just kept showing up to the offices and saying hi and standing around going, what's going on today? And just kind of being that guy just kept hanging around. And I have a couple of good realtors that use me, and I'll just text them out of the blue on a Friday, like, hey, how's it going? I haven't heard from you in a while, just seeing how you're doing. Or I'll pop in before a long weekend and wish everybody a long weekend, and bring in some you know donuts or something, and say, hey, have a good weekend. And to be honest, I just keep showing up. and
It's a good life
and
lesson. It's a great life
yeah,
lesson.
and it's working, but it's like everybody keeps saying, it takes a while to get into the market, but I'd say mostly everybody I've talked to just says keep doing what you're doing and you'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Consistency, right? Because that builds trust.
Yeah.
Um, did you quit the full-time job? When did you quit the full-time
No,
job?
well, I guess I'm kind of part-time plumbing. So when the phone isn't ringing, I'm still strapping on the tool belt and throwing pipe in the wall kind of thing.
Yeah.
And my boss has been amazing, about his flexibility and my flexibility of being able to do the home inspecting and then taking days off when I need to. I know there's days where plumbing we're swamped and I say sorry, I can't make it. It's frustrating, but he understands it. He's super stoked for me, and he's wants me to do well. But at the other side of that, it's just like, oh, God, you're not here again. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So
yeah.
here's $100,000 question. When will you know it's time to go full steam ahead into home inspections? Like what have you set for kind of that crossover point? If at all. Maybe
I'd
you have.
say I'd say minimum 2 to 3 jobs a week.
Okay.
And that if that's 12 jobs, what is that? 12 jobs a month.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be all in that one week, but if I'm doing 12 to 20 jobs a month, yeah, I won't be plumbing anymore. And
Yeah.
my wife would be soaked on that too, because she's like, well, you can be more of a stay-at-home dad. I don't think you know how a business works, but that's the hard part with still plumbing most of the time when I'm not busy, is that I fall behind on a lot of the office stuff, and social media, and just getting back in my car and walking into the realtors offices and saying hi. So
Do you schedule kind of your check-ins with agents, or is it more of just, hey, when it's top of mind, hit them up with a text or try and drop by the office? Like,
yeah, I'm pretty random that way. It keeps them on their feet and they don't expect me to show up.
that's good. Smart. Smart.
But one of the biggest questions I ask is like, is there any other guys that are doing what I'm doing when I come in to do this? And they said, no, nobody. I'm the only one that kind of just pops in all the time or does those realtor meetings. And I floated the idea around a couple of the offices. So you want me to come in once every couple of months and just talk about some of the new stuff that's coming out in homes and things to watch for and stuff like that. So you guys are a little more educated on stuff, and yeah, they love it.
I specifically love that approach of let me come with some value add every couple months. I'll educate you.
Yeah,
That's
because I
value
can only
first.
talk about myself so much. So it's
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
you know like, because I'm still in the trades and new rules and stuff that are coming out. So when I get something new down the pipeline, hey, would you guys like to know about this kind of thing? And I'm sure they would.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You're like a cheat code for them. You come in, give them new info. I like that a lot. And you keep showing up. That's just the point. It sounds basic. I think some people want a silver bullet, but it's like, well, boots on the ground week after week, month after month kind of wins.
Well, it's you don't remember a guy's face the first couple of times. You got to go. What is it? How many? 6, 10 times?
Yeah, something
I
like
think
a
that was in a
seven.
I think that was in a podcast a month ago. I was like, yeah, you got to keep putting your face in front of them before they start remembering you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. I see the Star Trek behind you. You mentioned it. It's on your
Yeah.
site that you're a Trekkie. Is that yeah, where how long was that growing up? You watched it? Like
Oh
where does that interest come from?
God, I think the very first time I watched Star Trek, I think I was like 3 or 4, and I looked at my dad. I was like, I'm bored. He's like, you want to watch a movie? I'm like, I'd love to watch a movie. All right, I got an awesome movie for you, and it was Star Trek 2, and and I fell in love with it. So yeah,
That's
I've been
amazing.
going for a while on the Star Trek, but you should see my little collection. I got all the little ships down here.
I was just gonna ask you, yeah, I think my brother growing up had some of the either figures or ships like that as well. And so like I know the collectibles is a big deal when
Yeah,
it comes to the Trekkies, right?
yeah, huge. Yeah, I got all my little ships out here and my 2 boys. It's like, you do not touch those.
Those are sacred. Yeah, you will learn how
Yeah,
nice these are someday.
yeah, yeah. No, I love it, and that's kind of where the company name kind of stuck with me. Is my wife came up with the company name Next Adventure, and I'm like, you know what, I kind of like that because it's kind of Trekky to
Yeah.
me, but going from plumbing to wholesale to this is definitely another. It's my next adventure as well.
Yeah.
So I loved it. Yeah. So when my wife came up with that, and I've had quite a few people say that they love that name. I'm like, well, it's for my client too. It's an adventure for them. It's their next home or first home, and that's a huge adventure.
I love the tie-in. And we talked about this on a webinar that we did a few weeks ago, talking about like as a solo inspector, like who you are is a part of the business. You can't like try to keep your interests in life 100% separate from the business. And so that's why I love tying in personal interests, because you know what? Like if there's an agent in your area that happens to be a Trekkie and that comes up, guarantee they're going to use you, maybe just based on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because of
Well,
interest
and
and stuff.
which is funny you say that, because I had a good. I think we sat in his office about 2 hours a couple weeks ago, and then I noticed he had a Star Trek poster on as well, and I was like, oh, so you like Star Trek? And then that went off the rails for about an hour. So I was like, you should see my car. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, I put my lucky number on my car. He's like, all right, let's go look at it. And I put the registry number from the Enterprise on there, NCC 1701 on the back. So I was like, it's my lucky number. So either I'll come out of everything okay, or the car will just explode.
So you guys were tight, right? I'm saying you're boys for
Yeah,
life after that conversation,
yeah,
right?
he loved that. Yeah,
See, and it's owning who you are, it's owning your interests and not being, afraid to like talk about it and promote it, whether it's on social or in real life. And so kudos for that. Cause yeah, I saw that like you put it on your site and I'm like, good for him for just talking about who you are. Cause people have to get to know you guys as inspectors.
yeah. And like everybody else says on the podcast, is you only have so much time before to make that connection with a client, and you don't have a lot of time.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see you doing
And
some.
more often than not, it's like that 5-minute phone call. And they're like, that's hard for me. As like, God, hopefully I came across okay on the phone call. So it's hard to judge body language and stuff like that when it's just a voice. So
Right. Yeah. No, I could see you having opportunities to do some fun social tie-in content with Star Trek somehow. Like you got to figure out some way to leverage that, because that'll be fun for you for one, and two, it'll catch people's eyes.
yeah, for sure. And then Halloween, that's a big one for me. That's a kind of like a holiday for me in my house. It's
Yeah.
like I always have that day off. So I always try to tie that month in with goofy stuff, and it's in the trades. It's been kind of hard to do a costume stuff like that, but I'm looking forward to this year.
Oh yeah.
I
Is
can
that
just show up to it.
show up to
Show
agent
up to
offices?
it. Yeah, show up to an agent's office wearing my Star Trek uniform.
Oh, they would love it, and just do pictures and all. I mean, to me, that's the kind of stuff that people sometimes underestimate. Shows you how human you can be and how much you can have fun, and so, people want to be around that kind of energy. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, no, I love it. Yeah, anybody that wants to talk about it or go off about not, yeah, I enjoy having those conversations with people more than anything. So if it can get you away from a stressful conversation about a house and kind of segue into something a little more lighthearted, it's great.
Yeah, it's an amazing balance. Um, Nick, this has been awesome, dude. I got to run. Where can people find you? Inspectors, whether they're in BC or even Canada or anywhere, really. What's the best way to connect with you if they just want to network, talk shop?
My webpage, www.nextadventurehomeinspections.ca, or you can find me on Facebook. My Facebook is Nic Gawletz. I also have my company tied in with that, so I have the Facebook link to that for my company. If anybody wants to email me, for sure, Nic NIC_Gawletz, GAWLETZ @hotmail.com. That's my personal. So if you got any personal questions or you want to reach out to me about some stuff, go for it.
Right on, man. I'll link to it on all the descriptions. And yeah, man, congrats. Congrats on kind of the initial success, and definitely keep me in the loop of how things go, between now and the year end. I'll be rooting for you, and we'll check up on each other.
Yeah, for sure. And if things are like really kicking off the ground, I'm looking forward to coming down and doing one of those conventions. That'd be fantastic.
Oh, yes, definitely. Those are always a good time, man, especially once you connect with certain people throughout the year, and then we get this like couple days, hopefully in a nice place to where we can all just kind of relax and have fun.
Yeah, for sure. And get some ideas, because I don't know how many good ideas I've gotten off your podcast. It's fantastic.
Oh, awesome, man. Hey, well, now you're a part of it. Now there's someone listening to you. Now there's someone listening to you
Awesome.
getting good ideas.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, brother. Well, hey, appreciate
All
the
right.
time. We'll
Not a
talk
problem.
soon.
Take her easy.
All right. Bye bye.